loving, cis, straight, white man. That is all you will ever be to me. And Dad, before you tell me to respect the dead, please remember that you disrespected and disregarded the lives and deaths of entire communities of people with your ideology. You told me to never back down, so I won't. You know for a fact that even against you, I'm not afraid to share my peace. You are everything I aspire not to be, and I refuse to stand up here and sing the praises of a man who is the paradigm of white supremacy. So I'll take your racist mindset, I'll take your money, and I'll take your advice. And I swear to God I will make this world a better place. Not at all because of you, but in exact opposition to you. Thank you.
I don't know if you could hear it there, but at the end, I mean, it was a packed church too. Somebody was saying, like they were caught. Did we just hear that? And somebody I heard say, oh, come on. Saga, 19 years old, eulogizing their father, okay? Posted it to TikTok, there's Saga right there, white father, who they claim is a Trump-loving racist, a misogynist. Notice though, they are going to keep the money and do good with it. And defending the controversy, standing firm on what they said during that eulogy. Funerals and speeches are to provide solace to the people giving them, Saga told the national desk. My solace was in my truth. It was in expressing and condemning all of the trauma my father has caused me and expressing my grief the way I needed to express it. But not everybody is convinced. Some said a funeral's not the right time. A eulogy is supposed to capture the best of the departed and leave us with something memorable. This was memorable, okay? And Saga also addressed people who disagree, if you will. Let's put up the statement there. Because this person knows who they are and they're gonna stick with it. And I think it was an act of courage. Here it is. Some people think the funeral wasn't the right place, but what was the right place? Whenever would I get another opportunity to speak my truth and not just on TikTok to a screen, but really speak it, Saga added. A part of me wanted to prove to myself that I had the bravery and the balls to be able to stand in my truth and belt it out to whoever could hear, which is why I did it. Jackson, right time or wrong place?
I mean, ultimately, I think that my opinion on that or anyone else's is irrelevant because she did it. And there were people in the audience who clapped. And it could be said maybe if she was older, she wouldn't have gone about it like that. But for her to do what she did, obviously she felt very strongly. Otherwise, she wouldn't have done it at that time. So, I mean, I don't really have very many personal thoughts about it on whether she's right or wrong for doing it, other than it happened. And apparently this guy was a bit of a creep. Yeah. So, if she hadn't had done that at the eulogy, that wouldn't have changed that, but she made the decision to do it. So, I mean, my thoughts on that really don't matter that much.
Yeah, it's their father and they can do as they please. But I will say this, didn't know the man, but you don't, and I've read everything that I can get my hands on that's out there. Again, the video went viral, but I didn't hear any family stand up and say, you just lied. He wasn't a racist, he wasn't a misogynist, he wasn't a Trump lover, okay? This was a man of God and a man who supported women and minorities, including his own Black child. I didn't hear or see anyone say that.
No.
So my point is, it shouldn't a eulogy and a funeral, if you're so inclined, be about the truth? And this was apparently the truth, okay? Because when would she get an opportunity to address it in front of this audience who surely had to know who he was? I mean, that's my take, Jackson.
Yeah, I agree. And again, there were people in the audience who clapped, and no one, if that was like really untrue, there would have been some pretty stark outrage in there. Just because it would have been like, what? Like, where is this coming from? But again, that she felt that was the best time and place for her to speak that with people who all knew him at least to some degree. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and I think it's also it's testament to something else. As parents, we often think we have to be perfect. We have to be, do everything the right way. At least you try. This man perhaps didn't try, was stuck in his ways and was going to do it his way till the end. And we see how that worked out. But I do think it means that even the worst kind of parent who suppresses who a child is, who doesn't allow a child to be free or have freedom of thought or never says sorry. One of those parents who never says sorry to a child. This child got something from their father that sparked change, a call to action. I really believe that. Even the worst parent can inspire a child to do good. I mean, is that too idealistic?
No, I don't think so. And I mean, if there's anything that could have been taken from this man's death in his life, I guess that was a positive angle. Because unfortunately, some people go to the grave with not much good being able to be said about him, as we, see from this example. So if there was anything positive that we can get from it, I guess that's a good thing. But I mean, oh well. I don't feel sorry for him.
I don't either. I don't feel sorry for him at all. I think it's perhaps the most impactful, profound eulogy I've ever watched. I've researched and I've seen some other kids who've written a venom-filled obit that I came across. I think it was from 2013. And those kids said, our mom was an abusive trash box, paraphrasing, and we're glad she's dead, okay? Might be a trend, who knows how certain people will be eulogized, including maybe a former president, who knows? Jackson White, tell us where people can find you.
Yeah, I'll do videos on Rebel HQ. You can catch me on that Monday through Friday. And also, you can follow my podcast on YouTube. This Politics and Papers, just youtube.com/@Politics and Papers. So you can check me out there. It was great being on here with you today.
Yeah, it was great being on with you too. And I do find your comments to be inspiring as well. And thanks for giving us some insight about your hometown of St. Louis. I'm Sharon Reed. You can catch me across all platforms at Sharon Reed Live. I want to thank Dr. Ritchie for letting me fill in as host today. This is Indisputable.
Universal health care, raising the minimum wage. If you want clean water, clean air, clean food, keep going. If you are a doer of the deed, I want you to stand up to your feet right now. We have courage enough, conviction enough, people power enough to stand up and do what is right for ourselves. I am unbought and unbought.
Hello and welcome to Unbossed. So glad you are here with us on this Monday. And you know, if it's Monday, you know who's here with us, Jessica Burbank. It is, I'm just gonna start labeling Mondays Jessica Burbank Day here on Unbossed. I'm so glad she's here with us. And our lineup for today, a billionaire is finally going to prison for fraud. A mass shooting over the weekend stole the lives of 5 individuals. And Fox News continues to spew hate and make everyone's lives more difficult, including John Fetterman's wife. So let's get into this. We're gonna start with Elizabeth Holmes. She was sentenced. The fraudster behind the company Theranos was sentenced to 11 years in prison on Friday. And here's more details about the case and the punishment that was handed down. The sentence imposed by U.S. District Judge Edward Davila was shorter than the 15-year penalty requested by federal prosecutors, but far tougher than the leniency her legal team sought for the mother of a year-old son with another child on the way. Holmes was CEO throughout the company's turbulent 15-year history, was convicted in January in the scheme, which revolved around the company's claim to have developed a medical device that could detect a multitude of diseases and conditions from a few drops of blood. And here is some more backstory about Holmes. In 2014, Elizabeth Holmes, then 30 years old, was on top of the world, a Stanford University dropout. She had founded a company valued at $9 billion for supposedly bringing about a revolution in diagnosing diseases. Here's Holmes herself peddling the supposedly groundbreaking advancement in 2015 in an interview with Jim Cramer. Watch this.
So this is what we call the nanotainer, which is a very small tube that's designed to replace the big vials that you take out of your arm when you draw blood traditionally with a tiny drop that can come from a finger. The goal is to empower the individual. We believe strongly that the future of healthcare is in enabling the individual to have the information that they need to take ownership of their health, and making lab information, which drives 80% of clinical decisions, more accessible by making it as painless as possible, making it incredibly inexpensive, and providing transparency around pricing so that people know before they buy a healthcare service how much it's going to cost them. We can begin to make it possible to enfranchise the individual and get them engaged.
Her infamy knows no bounds. She impressed. She impressed him so much. Cramer had this to say. Watch.
To me, it's reasonable to compare you, I usually don't do this, to Steve Jobs and what he did for computing. I regard you as a visionary, next generation person.
She was selling that snake oil, baby. She did. And Kramer wasn't alone in his belief in Holmes. Here are some of the high-profile investors of Theranos. Larry Ellison, the co-founder of Oracle, the Walton family from Walmart, their Walmart owners, Rupert Murdoch, Fox News owner, and Robert Kraft, owner of the New England Patriots. But as the saying goes, appearances can be deceiving, or another one, do not judge a book by its cover. It began to unravel in 2015 when a whistleblower raised concerns about Theranos' flagship testing device, the Edison. The Wall Street Journal wrote a series of damning exposés claiming the results were unreliable and that the firm had been using commercially available machines made by other manufacturers for most of its testing. Lawsuits piled up, partners cut ties, and in 2016, US regulators banned Holmes from operating a blood testing service for 2 years. In 2018, Theranos was dissolved. Jessica, it seems like, for the good that she was claiming to do and the needs being so great, especially telling people that they had something that could detect diseases, this really makes her the low of the low.
Absolutely, yeah, and so common in the pharmaceutical industry. And I would argue that every single billionaire in this country can be sued for fraud. I mean, fraud is deception for financial gain. And they've deceived people into believing their labor is worth $7.25 an hour. That is not true. They are making so much money off of paying them to work for an hour. And that is fraud, I would argue. That is deception for their financial gain, for their profit, to exploit people by paying them far less than their labor is worth, to take everything they create in that amount of time and sell it for oftentimes prices that are more than what we should be charging people, especially in things like the healthcare industry. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, hopefully Elizabeth Holmes will not be the first and only billionaire indicted for fraud here.
You better say that. It just seems like when something impacts the ultra wealthy, then people go to jail or go to prison in her case. And former Theranos employees knew that this was doomed from the get-go. Watch this.
Essentially, the technology that we were promising to our patients and everyone else didn't work.
I knew it was never gonna work, but we were so siloed at Theranos that I thought it was possible that something was going on in a different lab that would make it all work.
Technology doesn't lie. But yes, the people who build technology can lie.
Well said, technology does not lie, but the people building that technology certainly can. And those employees certainly knew what was going on. This is another example of corporate greed inserting itself into an industry that should only be for those who truly want to invest in saving lives and improving and maintaining the well-being of society. We truly hope Holmes has learned her lesson. She'll have a whole lot of time to think about this stuff while she's in prison. Well, there was another mass shooting over the weekend. It was Club Q in Colorado. 5 people are dead and 25 injured following a horrific shooting at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs. These people deserve to be with us today, obviously, and the violence was totally unnecessary. And we do want to take a time to recognize the family and the friends and the people who are suffering right now because of the loss. And the shooting came on the eve of Transgender Remembrance Day, which was on Sunday. So here is what happened. The violence lasted just minutes. Police received numerous 911 calls starting at 11:56 p.m. Officers were dispatched at 11:57 p.m. An officer arrived at midnight and the suspect was detained at 12:02 a.m. A total of 39 patrol officers responded and 11 ambulances went to the scene. 6 minutes. It only took 6 minutes. 19 of the 25 injured had gunshot wounds. The club shared this on Facebook. Club Q is devastated by the senseless attack on our community. Our prayers and thoughts are with all the victims and their families and friends. We thank the quick reactions of heroic customers that subdued the gunmen and ended this hate attack. And in Colorado, Governor Jared Polis, a Democrat and the nation's first openly gay governor, made this statement. We are eternally grateful for the brave individuals who blocked the gunmen, likely saving lives in the process, and for the first responders who responded swiftly to this horrific shooting. Colorado stands with our LGBTQ community and everyone impacted by this tragedy as we mourn together. For context, Club Q opened in 2002 and was until recently the only LGBTQ club in the city. There are only 2 gay bars in Colorado Springs. The murderer, whom has now been named, is facing charges, including the attack being a hate crime. Charges listed in El Paso County court docket: 5 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of bias-motivated crime causing bodily injury. The attack rings similar to mass shootings in Orlando at the Pulse nightclub. I'm sure we all remember that horrific day as well. Let's put up this headline: Orlando shooting, 49 killed, shooter pledged ISIS allegiance. Jessica?
Yeah, it's just a awful story that this is happening again is insane. There are 2 gay bars, right, in this place. And the thing about gay bars is every space you're in is a heteronormative space. So like if you're just out in public, if you're in a normal bar or restaurant, that is a heteronormative space. It's just the kind of society we live in, and it's taboo to be gay in most places around the country. And you'll hear people who were at Club Q say that that's a reason they wanted to be in the gay bar. This is the one space where queer people can be themselves. That's really hard, that you don't have many spaces where you feel seen, you feel comfortable, you feel like you can be yourself. And for those spaces to now be made unsafe because this is happening so frequently is a really scary and terrible society to live in. They're making it so these people have no space to be themselves. Like that's what we're dealing with here. And as a member of the LGBTQ community, I remember my first time going to a gay bar and how liberating that experience was. And now they're just taking it away from us, like rights that people rioted for and fought for. And this is where we're at. It's just really, really sad. And these people have families who maybe didn't even know they were out, and then they find out they were killed in a nightclub.
Yeah, so true. I mean, it's tragic. And this is a stain, a blot on this entire country. And I know that people all over the country are mourning. And what causes these attacks? Well, we all know why, it's no secret. It's a lot of people out there with big imprints spewing hate all the time. We have a few smug shots we want to put up for you to see. And you see these folks right there. These people spew this kind of hate all the time. And potentially, people like them who talk this kind of talk all the time and get people amped up, there is a link between them and why some of these things happen. But the one in particular that we want to highlight is an elected official. She just won re-election, unfortunately, and that's Representative Boebert. Yesterday, she had the audacity to put this out on social media. The news out of Colorado Springs is absolutely awful. This morning, the victims and their families are in my prayers. The lawless violence, or this lawless violence, needs to end and end quickly. Now, coming from somebody that didn't spew a whole lot of hate, I would say that those points were right on. But let's go down memory lane and look at some of the things that the Congresswoman put out on social media previous to what she put out about the shooting. We can't forget. Take your children to church, not to drag bars. Now, personally, I don't know any adults that would take their children to a bar, drag bar or otherwise. This is another example of trying to other people and to get people amped up. That is exactly, she knows exactly what she is doing. How about this oldie but not goodie, not that old. A kid-friendly drag show in Texas was guarded by masked Antifa guards armed with AR-15s. Remember, they only want your guns. They want to use theirs to protect their depravity. There's only one person that has depravity, and it's her. Or how about this one? The Assistant Secretary for Health is out here trying to empower children to become transgender. The word is groom, Richard, not empower. You're grooming them, not empowering them. Again, using her platform as an elected official to spew hate and also to spew lies. We got one more for you. A North Carolina preschool is using LGBT flag flashcards with a pregnant man to teach kids colors. We went from reading Rainbow to Randy Rainbow in a few decades, but don't dare say the left is grooming our kids. I mean, it is really, really clear that it is something wrong with Representative Boebert. Jessica?
Yeah, I have no problem going low on Boebert. Every time I see her talking in a video, it's like a low budget car commercial. Like, it is shocking to me that she's been able to motivate a base to follow her and see her as a leader. But it's very serious what's going on here. I don't want to make light of it, because to equate people in drag queens to pedophiles it makes absolutely no sense. Statistically speaking, there are more pedophiles in churches than I'm sure in drag bars. Like, I feel very confident in that. Especially considering that 0.6% of the population is trans. They're really trying to get people to focus so much on this. It's like there's someone in your house robbing you, right? The economic system is set up in the United States to be terribly unequal. People's labor is getting exploited every day. But because someone outside is screaming fire, fire, people are leaving and going outside to see what's up. They're trying to distract us with these other issues. That's what they're doing, and they're paid a lot of money to do it.
Yeah, they are, Jessica, and your point, and I wish we had a thought to put up a stat. I mean, the fact that they want to over-sexualize the community and continue to paint the community as other, when most pedophilia, if they want to be honest about it, is on the heterosexual side. The data and the facts back that up. But no, don't look at the man or the woman behind the curtain. These people right here, and especially the elected officials, and I'm not letting these other celebrities, when we put up their smug shots, or so-called celebrities or wannabe celebrities or people with platforms, not letting them off the hook. But Representative Boebert has a special obligation not to do this. I'm sure she has people from the queer community in her district. What does that say to them, Jessica? She doesn't want to serve them. It's really, it not only it's unconscionable, it's unseemly, it is dangerous what she is doing, and so many others. Can we put the smug shots back up? And I know that people do recognize some of these people in these smug shots. I mean, Tucker Carlson, particularly every single night goes on the show spewing all kinds of craziness and outrageousness. And it just really is a very hurting thing that you have people who are so prominent nationally and in some cases internationally using their platforms to push hate.
Yeah, and hate has become a commodity, really. And this was true even before Donald Trump, but now people are using the internet in a way that they haven't before, right? He decided to take people's insecurity around how they live in this country and how things are going and weaponize their fear for their own stability, point at different communities to be angry and mad at. And then they realize this gets a lot of interaction on the internet. It gets a lot of views. It gets your name out there. It grows your platform and your political support. And now people realize how much of a commodity fear is in this country, and turning fear into hate has become a grift for so many people. And there are real consequences to this. People are dead in Colorado today because of it. And Lauren Boebert is someone that people voted for, and even the people who supported her campaign, despite her hateful rhetoric, were also defrauded by Lauren Boebert, because she said that during the campaign, she drove something like 3 times, it was 2 point something times the circumference of the earth around the district during the campaign, and then used that money for her reimbursements for travel to pay off debts for her restaurant Shooter's Grill in Denver. So come on, Lauren Boebert. I mean, and these people I'm sure still support her.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it is really she's a joke, but she barely won this time, Jessica. Yeah. Really, I mean, it was a great fight, and I hope that there's another challenge to her 2 years from now. 2 years will go very quickly.
Me too.
But it's just really heartless, and I don't even know why someone like her would even run for office when they really don't like the people. When you are elected, you serve all people, but she is making it very clear that the queer community is not welcome and is not served by her. And it's more than unfortunate. It is irresponsible what this representative is doing and the hypocrisy that she continues to push, because she is no doubt a hypocrite of the highest order. Again, our thoughts and our prayers go out to the Club Q community, all of the family members, all of the friends, and everybody that is in mourning over what just happened in Colorado Springs. It just reminds us how linked we all are, and it could have been one of our loved ones there. It could have been any of us there. So we must continue to push back against hate in all of its forms. That is one of our obligations as fellow human beings who occupy this space called Earth together. We do owe it to each other. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Happy Hour, everybody. After a week of soul-crushing news, we break out the good stuff. Good news, good videos, good people, and of course, drink good alcohol. That's the worst thing I've ever had.
This is the best show.
Full disclosure, we did do a shot right before the show began. It says,
let's
flamingo.
Flamingo.
The reason you had trouble with that word is it's not a word.
Okay.
This is the one of everything.
I got a rash. Could I just put it on that to see if it'll take it off?
What did you used to think this was?
Bull.
Drink it, swallow it,
no.
spit it. Oh, that's needed after a day like this. Cheers to Brett Ehrlich. Climax. Uranus smells like farts. Because of course it does. This is the worst sketch ever of a perp. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They found the guy. This is Sophie's super happy dog story of the week.
This dog is so precious and deserves the world. I'm just not drinking that beer.
Here's my dog. This is Onyx.
Yeah, I would just say that he's exotic because he's not your traditional dog. Yeah, still 12 out of 10 because they're all good.
Well, if that made you happy, just wait till you see the best thing ever of the week. There is a woman who moves like a horse.
Why do I want to go home and like try this?
We're actually going to show you the running butthole challenge right now. What's happening?
No, that's just wrong. Every way.
And we'll see you next time.
Hey Dave, as you can probably see, Skype froze. Frozen crashed.
You know, I'm watching that documentary on the Vietnam War, and there was a TV journalist in the middle of some tiny little village in Vietnam doing live TV as the soldiers were burning the Vietnamese huts, and it didn't crash. And that was 1965, and he was in Vietnam.
Welcome back to the show. My favorite part. Yeah, I'm feeling a little low right now after that last story that Jessica and I just covered. It's kind of hard to rebound from that. It was absolutely horrible what happened at the Q bar or nightclub in Colorado Springs. So again, we're lifting up the family and friends of not only the people who were killed, but also the 25 people who were injured. We don't know if it started off at 18 and then it went to 25. And who knows, it may grow. We hope that it doesn't, but we are lifting up everybody, that entire community in Colorado Springs. Now to member comments, and hopefully that will get me back lifted. Glenn says, a TYT member says, Jessica always brings the receipt, and they're longer than the ones from CVS.
That's so funny.
That is so funny.
Those long receipts.
For the life of me, Jessica, I do not know why CVS is still printing receipts like that's enough to wrap a present. Let's say the receipts, we could wrap some gifts with those.
Think about the trees, man. CVS.
Come on, CVS. Do it digitally, baby. Come on into the 21st century. Lynn, you're right, though. Jessica does bring the receipts. And on Twitch, Marlee says, my favorite part of the day is Nina time. Oh, thank you, Marlee. I appreciate you, baby. And YouTube super chat, Jennifer says, good day with a beautiful heart. Excited to watch and learn from the smart and beautiful Nina. Oh, Jennifer, back at you, baby. And to all of our beautiful supporters, all of you, thank you for lifting us right here on Unbossed and also TYT Network. We certainly could not do what we do without you. We appreciate you so very much. It's that time of the year. We know that it is winter time. And if you live in the North in particular, oh man, winter is out there, baby. It is cold as, well, it's very cold right now. And there has been an increase in heating costs, and the federal priorities are just not there to help people. Energy prices are surging, but assistance has gone flat. Let's take a look at this headline. Home heating costs are on the rise, but government assistance is running short. Home heating costs are projected to rise 28% this winter. Additional money that helped keep homes warm last winter was included in the COVID package, but has run out this year. You may recall last week we talked about the fact that you have members of the Senate who just declared the COVID emergency over. I believe it was 62 or 63 senators, and some of those were Democrats, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who just declared, I mean, the Senate has the authority, I guess, to declare the pandemic over, and the emergency funds that came with it just done. It's good on the president, who said that he would veto any such bill that came across his desk. So I'm with you on that, Mr. President. Let's keep on. As winter temperatures as winter temperatures arrive across America, government officials are bracing for a surge of households unable to pay rising winter heating bills and dwindling resources available to help cover the cost. This reporting is coming from NBC News. But the average household home heating costs are projected to rise 28% on top of double-digit increases last year, driven largely by the disruption to energy markets caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine and surging demand for fossil fuels. At the same time, federally funded programs to help low-income households with those bills will have 42% less money this winter after the billions of dollars in COVID stimulus available last winter runs out. For the life of me, I don't know why that money is running out. Next, many households across the United States are likely to spend more on energy in the winter of 2022 to 2023 compared with recent winters. Higher forecast energy expenditures are the result of higher fuel prices combined with higher heating demand because of a forecast of slightly colder weather than last winter, i.e. climate chaos is in full effect, whether temperatures are extraordinarily high or extraordinarily low. Climate chaos is a part of this. Let's put up this graph that is coming from the US Energy Information Administration. And as they lay out on this graph how much the increase is, how much colder, and the impact that this is having right there, the US Energy Information Administration. And I'm sure that members of Congress, Jessica, in both chambers have access to this information and could have acted accordingly if they wanted to.
Yeah, it would be very easy for members of Congress to realize that we're not going to see change come from the fossil fuel industry. When you have fossil fuel CEOs saying that they're going to have steady growth plans, and despite there being international shortages for access to oil driving up energy prices, they're saying we're not going to increase domestic production because that would mean fronting the cost to build new rigs and drill new wells. And that means less returns to our shareholders because that's going to cut into our profit margins. So instead, we're going to keep extraction steady steady so that we can profit over many, many years and people really milk their investment in fossil fuel, despite it literally destroying the planet. And members of Congress could very easily create a public option for work and put people to work like they did under FDR and say, hey, what we need to do is build renewable energy infrastructure so that we can have more affordable energy, but also a sustainable investment and have energy over a long period of time that's clean and reduce energy costs, and then have a well-paid living wage be a public option for work, so that then there's actual competition in the labor market and we increase the quality of work everywhere else. Because when you can work for a living wage in a stable job that's meaningful work, now you're forcing people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk to actually pay their employees well and treat them well.
There it is. And also on dealing with and ensuring that we lower our dependence on fossil fuels. I mean, we're doing something good for Mother Earth and helping to create environmental sustainability, which is really the direction that we must go into both in this country and in the world. But it always boggles my mind. I don't know, I say that, but not so much, because we know who we're dealing with, Jessica. The owner donors are in full control. And the fossil fuel industry, they own many of the people who occupy the halls of Congress. As a matter of fact, far too many of them they absolutely own. So my stunt double tweeted this out. We have resources for the military budget, though, every time. And not talking about the part of the budget that takes care of our enlisted men and women, our enlisted people. I'm talking about the part of the budget that goes to contractors that are making money off of misery and war making. That's what I'm talking about. And they do this in such a bipartisan way. They do not hesitate to do it. My stunt double further put out, this one is really good. We live in a country where government assistance is running short to help people stay warm. Meanwhile, the House passed a military budget larger than what was asked. These are bipartisan decisions too. The corruption is abhorrent. And that is exactly what it is. I want you to underline it. I want you to bold it. I want to underscore it. I want to put it as a message in a bottle. This is corruption on full display as people suffer during the winter season, and everybody in Congress knows it. Everybody in Congress has somebody in their district that is poor or making low wages, but they do not give a damn. And it's on full display for all of us to see and for all of us to understand. Yes, the corruption is abhorrent. Let's put up this graph that we have used several times on this show, because I want you to see and I also want you to hear, because I'm gonna talk about it, that this country spends more on its military than 9 countries combined. Let's underscore that. Let's bold it. Let's put this in a message in a bottle. That is what we are doing. So you have China, you have India, United Kingdom, Russia, France, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Japan, and South Korea. When you combine the defense spending of those 9 countries combined, it comes to a grand total of $777 billion. $777 billion. Bold and underline that. And then when you go to the side of the United States of America, we are at $801 billion that we are spending on the military. Jessica, I don't know about you, but I think we might be in agreement with this statement I'm about to make. I don't want World War III to happen. They should be using that money for other things, especially on the domestic side, but instead they're using this money to enrich defense contractors. Hell, our veterans, some of our veterans are sleeping outside on the streets in this cold weather. They could use that money for that, but oh no. Spending more money than 9 countries combined. Jessica, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting. One of my first job as an organizer was trying to persuade members of Congress that people in their district would rather us spend money on foreign aid and collaborating with other nations rather than military spending. And no matter how many people you get together, members of Congress will not listen to you on this front. It was really disheartening work. And it's a huge problem that the United States has been a global power for so long. We have set the stage when it comes to politics on the international level. And we have not invested in any kind of collaborative system for decision making and managing resources or dealing with problems that are much bigger than any one nation alone can address, like climate change. And so with this idea that states should be competing with each other for resources and us using the military to go and exploit labor abroad and extract all of their resources by force, destabilizing them politically, making them assimilate to Western cultures. I mean, for decades and decades, we've continued with the colonial mission as a country. And so this idea of individualism and that we have to compete with other nations, the same individualism we have at home, has put us in this position where now we feel like we still need to use all of the oil we have and also use other countries' oil abroad because we now control it, even though it's destroying us. So instead of switching paths and realizing it's destroying us and working to collaborate with other nations, now we're just continually investing in the military so that we can keep up with what's going on. Because why? The people who are making a lot of money off of it also control our politics. So all of us are going to live in a world that is unlivable and be fighting for water and resources because a few guys want to stay rich. That's the situation we're in.
That's it, sacrificing everybody. The owner donors are in full control. And it also, Jessica, encourages other nations as they look, they know too. Like they know what you and I know and what we just shared with our viewers, how much money the United States of America is spending on its on defense. And that makes them amp up too. You know, they say, no, if you guys do it, we can do it too. And so we really lose moral authority in this space in trying to get more countries not to amp up their military. But they look at us and they say, oh yeah, we must do it too. And this fear mongering, just constant fear mongering and war and having the shadow of war over us all the time. It is not healthy. It's not healthy socially, politically, emotionally. It's just not healthy. And so we're having this conversation. We're juxtapositioning the bipartisan love and support for the defense industry to people who are low income, not having what they need to heat their homes because of the rising cost of gas and also inflation and the pandemic. Hello, somebody, which is still looming despite what those senators had to say. Let's put this up. The surge in demand and drop in aid is causing concern throughout state and federal governments. In anticipation, the White House has taken a three-pronged approach this past year, said an administration official. It has urged oil companies to bolster their stockpiles, make funds available to winterize homes, and make more energy and make them more energy efficient, and prepare for further releases from the country's petroleum or heating oil reserve. Jessica, you just called it. So this is the answer. Let's just pump out more oil instead of doing the things that are necessary to decrease our oil dependency. And nothing they said right here, nothing that the administration is saying on this particular issue gives people immediate relief who are cold right now in this moment and who need the help. These folks, I just can't even with them. Just we going to Fetterman's wife right now who's being harassed. Back to Fox. Fox just cannot help themselves. They just ain't right unless they spewing hatred. So the right continues to torment those different from them. Check out this headline. Gazelle Fetterman claims she received constant threats due to being on a nonstop loop on Fox News. In a New Republic piece entitled "Mrs. Fetterman Goes to Washington," Gazelle Fetterman pushed back hard on her husband's critics, focusing on really his health conditions. That's what really started all of this. After his health struggles, and she, being his wife, really stepped in to look after her husband like any good spouse would do. And Fox News, the channel of family values, had a problem with this. Let's put up this. The Republic's Pablo Manriquez noted some of the more recent attacks on Gazelle Fetterman, including mocking from Fox News hosts like Harris Faulkner over a photo she posted on social media where her husband was partially cropped out. Senator-elect Fetterman is 6 feet 8 inches tall. The photo is part of a running joke the two have had for years, long before the two were thrust onto the national stage. In other words, they've been joking with each other, Jessica, about this for a very long time, about how he's too tall to fit in photographs. And Fox News had to find something wrong with this. Now, Fetterman, meaning Gazelle Fetterman, responded this way by saying the right wing hates women. They especially hate strong women, and I think that's what you're seeing. Now, she made it very clear in her interviews that not only does she believe they hate women, but the hateful emails that she is receiving is because Fox News continues to keep her in a loop. She had this to say: since entering the Capitol for training, my inbox has been completely filled with threats and horrible things. And that's because I've been on a nonstop loop on Fox News. Jessica, I don't understand why Fox feels the need to continue to attack this family in this way.
It doesn't make any sense. What did Fetterman do wrong? Nothing. He won an election fairly. He got more votes than Dr. Oz. That was his crime. What did his wife do? Nothing. And I think a big reason why Fox is not a fan is because she was originally an undocumented immigrant. And we know how the fans of Fox News and Fox News hosts feel about undocumented immigrants in the United States. But listen, Fetterman did nothing wrong. It's not like he's in the heat of a scandal or is seen as some public figure who's wronged his constituents now. And moreover, his wife, even if he did do something wrong, should not be held accountable for his actions, but he didn't even do anything wrong. Like, why are you bringing the spouse into this? This is just such dirty, disgusting politics. These are people who don't care about representative democracy at all. We have people like Lauren Boebert not representing all of the people in her district. And these people also don't care about free and fair elections. They really are just fomenting hate and fear again and selling it to the public for views.
This is what they do best. And as we said earlier in another segment, it pays. This pays very well, and that's why people do it. Now, this next headline is the exclusive from the Republic. Mrs. Fetterman goes to Washington. The Pennsylvania senator-elect spouse opens up about the nonstop attacks and threats she gets from the right. And what set the right wingers off? I'm so glad that you asked. The question was answered during the interview that Gazelle Fetterman had with the New Republic. And I want to go down memory lane just for a tick. He didn't even want to go to the hospital. So this is Mrs. Fetterman laying out what happened. People, let me remind you that Fetterman had the stroke in May. And so his wife in her interview with the New Republic is just reminding us of what happened in that moment. So he didn't even want to go to the hospital, but I insisted. And as usual, I was right, said Mrs. Fetterman on stage, giving the applause line an adequate pause before adding, I'm so glad I made him go for two reasons. The first is that doctors were able to get him back on his feet quickly. And the second reason is I now have one more thing I get to hold over his head. I mean, I saved his life, right? I will never let him forget it. And we know spouses joke like this all the time. There's nothing abnormal about what she said, and certainly nothing abnormal about her seeing that something was wrong with her husband medically and saying, baby, you got to get to the hospital. But oh no, for Fox News, that was a bridge too far. So that triggered right-wing attacks that have persisted ever since. A survey by liberal press tracker Media Matters for America found that Fox News's primetime lineup mentioned Fetterman more than Democratic nominees in 6 other competitive races combined. Again, this is coming from the New Republic. I would think that they would love the fact that the Fettermans are together in this way, that they're looking out for one another, because again, they believe in family values, but they seem to not like this. I don't get it.
There's a lot of interesting gender dynamics going on. Like, I remember when my father was sick, he would not go to the hospital. Not only is health insurance not in the picture for them, which is a huge problem in America, but this idea that if a man is sick, they are not willing to seek help because of this toxic masculinity that we're all taught that you can tough through it. The pain's probably not that bad. His appendix literally burst before he made it to the hospital. So he endured that kind of pain. Unfortunately, this is how men are in our society. So thank God Fetterman listened to his wife in this situation, because so often men don't go to the hospital. She clearly didn't do anything wrong here. Of course, she should say, I'll never let him live that down, because now whenever he gets sick again, he at least knows it's serious and she's gonna be able to remind him of this. She cares about him. That's terrible in the eyes of Fox News, a wife telling her husband what to do. Makes a lot of sense.
Apparently it is terrible that not only did she say, hey, we gotta get you to the hospital, he listened. Shame on him for listening to the woman.
Saved his life.
Yeah, his wife. Well, we'll be right back. Wrap your mind around what we just said. Don't you go anywhere. I'm coming back.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. Now,
We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute.
I didn't say that about Lori Ingram.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good foster.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip in the Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Welcome back to the show, viewer comment time. Before we get to the viewer comments though, I wanna remind you, Brittany Griner, yes, we do it every single show. We are BG, hashtag that. If you're still on that thing called Twitter, please do that. On the ground, Facebook, wherever you may be, we are BG. She is still not home, still lifting her up and her family and all of her supporters. This is a critical time for them. And we do not want to lose sight of the fact that she still needs to come home. And also for our sisters and brothers and family and friends in Jackson, Mississippi, help us at TYT, continue to help them. You can go to tyt.com/relief, tyt.com/relief. Clean water is a necessity for each and every one of us. So let's do our part to help them right now. All right, to our viewer comments, we have Vicky says, I love when the hosts of TYT shows say that they have the smartest viewers. The credit for that goes to the TYT hosts who give us correct information we don't get anywhere else. Heart hugs, Nina and Jess, XOXO. Oh, Vicky, thank you so much for sending that to us. Yes, the feeling is mutual. We're smart, you're smart. We doing this daggone thing. Yes, we are. And on Twitch, Woody says, I've never watched Nina before, but I'm loving it. Thank you for your voice on this icy cold day in Minnesota. It's just the warmth I needed. Oh, thank you, Woody. Yes, it is a cold, icy day here in Cleveland, Ohio too, baby. I'm right with you. We need some warmth. And on YouTube Super Chat, Two Dog Go says, one of my favorite parts of Unbossed is when Nina bites her tongue and tries not to curse.
I love that too.
Oh,
so good.
Jessica, I'm telling you, I am praying in that moment. I'm praying to Black Jesus at the time, because that's the only one that can really help me when I feel like, cussing, yes. Thank you for that. Thanks for all of our viewers, everybody that supports us. Thank you for lightening the mood a little bit in this last half of our show. We really do appreciate each and every one of you. And we do not take you for granted here on the TYT network, and certainly not on Unbossed. Again, truly, we could not do what we do without you. We love you. Kevin McCarthy, watch this.
Let me ask you about your decisions. Should you become the Speaker of the House in January? What are you going to do in terms of these Democrats that you have on such important committees? You've talked in the past about removing Ilhan Omar. You've talked about removing Adam Schiff, about Eric Swalwell. Will you deliver?
Yes, I will. I'll keep that promise. And one thing I said from the very beginning, Eric Swalwell cannot get a security clearance in the public sector. Why would we ever give him a security clearance in the secrets to America? So I will not allow him to be on Intel. You have Adam Schiff, who had lied to the American public time and again. We will not allow him to be on the Intel committee either. And you look, Congresswoman Omar, her anti-Semitic comments that have gone forward. We're not going to allow her to be on foreign affairs, but we're also going to stand up to what's happening, not just in the halls in Congress, but what's happening into our higher education institutions, the anti-Semitism that's going on these campuses and others. We will investigate that as well and stop this to make sure that America does have the freedoms that we said we would keep, and we will stand up to it as we move forward.
I'm just really shaking my head and signing my behind off right now. Will you deliver for the American people is what the host of this Fox show asked. How about asking, will you really deliver for the people and stop playing games, taking people off committees? You guys just got the majority, and instead of planning out how you're gonna expand the child tax credit, how you gonna make sure people can heat their homes? How you gonna pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act? Hello, somebody. This is what you got the majority for? Jessica, I mean, the beautiful thing about this is that it's on full display what they plan to do or not do.
I can't figure out why he thinks it's a sound argument to say, Ilhan Omar can't be on the Foreign Services Committee. I mean, they really identify people who stand in solidarity with Palestine as people, they label them as anti-Semitic. When in reality, you have so many independent human rights investigations across the world saying what's going on there is apartheid. But if you do not comply with the propaganda pushed by the American government and the interests of the people running the American government, the corporations that lobby members of Congress like Kevin McCarthy to do the exact opposite of what's in the interest of human rights, now you're in a situation where they can say, well, you can't be on the committee now because you're not in lockstep with our values. People voted these folks in to represent them. And if they have experience in foreign policy, which Ilhan Omar does, you should be on that committee. Not in the eyes of Kevin McCarthy, because this is not about merit and this is not about representation. It's about playing the game of politics and lining the pockets of the right people.
That's exactly right. I mean, and anybody in his district should be disgusted by this, because in no way during that interview, or at least the clip that we just watched, did he talk about being in service to the American people. This is really just about revenge. So meanwhile, McCarthy is really he's just looking to, this is a pure unfettered power grab. He just wants to give power back to his people. Let's put up this headline. Kevin McCarthy promised Marjorie Taylor Greene she'd be back on committees after midterms and will have better assignments per report. Now, as a reminder, Greene was stripped from her committees because of old posts uncovered of her expressed belief that Parkland, Sandy Hook, and 9/11 were staged. Yeah, underline that, let's underscore that. That is why she was stripped of her committees. Let's take a look at this headline. Marjorie Taylor Greene indicated support for executing prominent Democrats in 2018 and 2019 before running for Congress. But this is the woman that this man wants to give back not only committee assignments, but he promised her better committee assignments. Additionally, McCarthy has made a similar pledge to another far-right House member, Representative Paul Gosar. Why was Gosar stripped of his committees? I'm so glad that you asked. Because he shared a cartoon video of Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez being killed. That's why he was stripped of his committee. Let's take a look at this headline. House votes to censure Rep. Paul Gosar for posting violent video depicting attacks on Biden and AOC. President Biden and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. This is why the man was stripped of his committee. Jessica, I see no comparison and no grievance here between him putting these types of people back in control and then him just wanting to strip people like Representative Omar and others from their committee assignments. I just don't get it.
Right, you've got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is actually a security threat to this country in her involvement with January 6th, the actual insurrection that she supported, the election fraud that she talked about so much and fomented fear that there was not a sound election in this country. She spread so much disinformation around that. These are the kind of people that have merit and a reason to be stripped of their committee titles, to not be able to serve on committee. And it's just ridiculous that they think that the members of their own party are above any kinds of standards. And it's because they actually, at the end of the day, support people like Marjorie Taylor Greene doing things like that. They don't want to follow law and order. They're the party that always talks about law and order. What they really want is everyday working class people to just take the one-sided state violence. So they say they're the party of law and order. They really support tough policing. But when it comes to themselves actually following any kinds of rules and representing their constituents, they just will not do it.
No, they will not. And just to think, these people were actually elected. This is really, really scary. It really is. So let the games begin, folks. We've just gotten a preview of what it's going to be like in that Congress, especially in the House of Representatives. They are not going to do anything in service of you. All they are going to do, the Republicans, as they are in control, is to just fight the Democrats just for the sake of and not lift the people of this country. Wishbone, baby, this is where we are at. We are at the bones, hoping, wishing, and praying. And I am taking the quote today from Margaret Mead, who is an American cultural anthropologist, an author, and a speaker. And she was best known for her studies of the people of Oceania, especially with regards to various aspects of psychology and culture. Yeah, Margaret Mead. I think this quote will lighten us up a little bit. She said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. True that, Margaret Mead, so true. And so basically she's saying that change will come and it can come and it must come. It is a constant in the universe. But what we must ask ourselves is change for what and change for whom? People of good consciousness, committed people who are committed to what is just, to what is right, and to what is good. If all of us put a little extra on our ordinary, extraordinary things can and they do happen. And that really is the foundational point of what Margaret Mead was saying there. Jessica, any thoughts on that particular quote?
I really believe it's true. I think it's sad that so many people say, I can't do anything just myself. You really can. If you talk to the people immediately in your community about all of the stuff that we talk about on this show, that changes the world. Like, those conversations are so important. And I didn't think I'd reach a lot of people on TikTok, but I was committed to it and I felt it was important. And now there are people in the comments that say, I really study the stuff you talk about in your videos, and I talk about it at Shift Change with my coworkers at work. That is working class people liberating working class people without anybody paying for it. That's not a union, that's not a nonprofit. I think that's beautiful. And so it couldn't be more true. That's exactly what changes the world.
That is exactly what does it. And it is beautiful indeed. There is no force on this earth that can stop a conscious-minded, determined people on the move. And that's really what Jessica and I are talking about. And that is really what was expressed in Margaret Mead's quote. So we hope that you take this to heart. You know what I want you to do about this time? I want you to keep the faith. And I absolutely want you to keep the fight. Until next time.